Let's sit. Let's do the ancient ritual that humans have done now for a long time. Thousands of years, imagine that. In geological time, it's nothing, of course. But in human time, it's significant. So what if we were to abandon some far-off goal and just be right here? Feel the wind singing in your veins. Feel the life coursing through your body. Perhaps remembering to take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Taking refuge in being awake. Taking refuge in the way things are, constantly changing. In the fact that there's nowhere to rest. In a changing world, it's always shifting. We can use breathing in and breathing out as our vehicle, as our strategy for awakening, our strategy for being right here. And to take refuge in the Sangha is to recognize that we do this with friends. Really the best kind of friend. This moment is exactly as it is. Each and every breath has a beginning. And in that way, it is an invitation to be here in the present. Of course, the mind has its powerful tendencies of greed, hatred, and delusion. And these show up as the hindrances, as emotions. Mindfulness is bigger, deeper, more inclusive. It lights up everything. So let us observe the arising of desire and aversion, restlessness, agitation, worry, sloth and torpor, doubt, fear, anger, loneliness, you name it, confusion. Mindfulness knows everything for what it is. And so we settle into this moment. Cultivating awareness of in-breathing and out-breathing grounds us in the present moment. This then expands in a way. These are the foundations of mindfulness. It can expand to notice mind itself. What is the nature of this mind this morning? Is it expansive and spacious, loving, compassionate? Or is it something else, contracted, angry, hurting? Is there a hard-heartedness about it? Not to make it better, simply to notice that it is. It is like it is. So we can put down the self-improvement struggle, put down the enlightenment struggle. This moment is exactly as it is. Finding our way home to this moment. Each breath has its beginning. And then there is the expanding chest and abdomen for a while. The beginning is over. There is the expansion to fullness. And then there's the decline and the vanishing. How intimately can you be with this? First, there's targeting, there's acquiring the object. And then there's sustaining the attention on the object, the sensations of breathing. Feel the wind in your veins. It's not an invitation to some fantasy. Feel the life in your body. This life right now. Wisdom and love are somehow synonyms. To be wise is to know deeply, intuitively. about anicca, dukkha, and anatta. It's to know deeply, intuitively about suffering, its cause, and its end. This occurs simultaneously with love. When love means there's room for everything. See about cultivating, opening to more love in this moment than you think is possible. Opening to accept and love that which is unacceptable. New terrain. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. What an amazing aspiration. And in this way, love is an action of a sort. There is, of course, plenty of hurting and suffering in the human life. In our own, we don't have to turn on the media to experience challenging suffering. We just have to sit still for a little while. I aspire, I intend, it is my prayer that whenever I discover this that I think of as myself to be suffering, I will hold this experience in sweet compassion. Sweet compassion. sometimes there will be the sweet relief of concentration when awareness settles in the breath. And there is a subduing, a repression of all the hindrances. There is sukha with this. There is pleasure with this. So why not enjoy it? In fact, why not learn over time how to inhabit this concentration almost whenever you want it? And also to use this ease of mind to investigate what's happening. How does it happen that a thought thinks itself? Where in the body is it that this emotion dwells? What is it that contributes to concentration being present? What contemplation, which reflection supports concentration and which doesn't? Each one of us has the most sensitive testing apparatus to carry out the experiment of human life. We practice alone and in company. The practice benefits ourselves. It also benefits our loved ones, our friends, everyone we encounter. And so we can also recognize that we can have the intention, may all beings benefit from our practice. It doesn't mean we are suddenly personally responsible for someone struggling to survive in Eritrea, or to people fleeing from floods somewhere. What it means is that we are fundamentally one. And so that each one of us who takes responsibility for our piece of the web we reduce the suffering in the world by that much. So on in-breathing, we might say, may I be happy and free from suffering. And on out-breathing, may all beings be happy. What does that mean? May all beings be content and free from suffering. And now, let us bring awareness into the body. Again and again, awakening to this that sits here. It's alive, isn't it? Before long, it'll be getting up and dressing, driving the car, bathing, typing, getting breakfast, going to work, doing all these things. Why not do them all mindfully? Why not create little rituals? Getting into the car, remembering, yes. Stepping into the shower, remembering, yes. And now in this moment, this instance, there'll be a couple of gongs, letting the first one be the wake up, be here, and then the second be the opening of eyes, and then seeing one another with gratitude. Hello, dear friends. I have no announcements. I don't want to make an announcement. I am, however, willing to hear what you have to say. So if you'd like to share something this morning, please unmute and Denise is in yet another new spot, and I think I see cows walking back and forth in the background. Young cows running, calves, I guess.
It was
Hang
sheep.
on, I gotta put this on. Trying to hear anybody.
Yeah.
Hello, Denise.
It was sheep running. They're in the
Sheep.
front yard this morning.
I see. You live a very exciting life.
That's for sure.
Can you hear that? Siri is talking to me. Okay, apparently not.
Hey, Robert.
Hello, Hadley.
I just want to report back from I just finished a 10-day retreat with the Kunja SN Goenka Northwest Vipassana Association up in Onalaska and had a great retreat.
Good.
And it went well. And if anyone has any questions about that, please contact me. And it's alive and well.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
This is Leanne. Hello.
Hello, Leanne.
A few people have reached out, so I thought I would check in. I've been mostly able to at least listen in. It's just been super hard dealing with one health crisis after another of my dear spouse. And I spent 20 years working in end of life care. So as soon as we retired, he started plummeting. So it's been hard, and he does better. And then yesterday crashed back in the emergency room out of rehab and thought we were going to lose him again. And man, so it's not easy to, I never wanted to be a nurse. That was just a practical thing that happened. But being around another person suffering is very hard to stay present with, and also with myself, So like, I'm pretty good at shutting off myself and being present. But that dance between, okay, I know I've got to be here in my own vulnerability, and yeah, it's tricky stuff.
Is he in the hospital right now?
He's back in a different hospital, a totally different hospital system, because we're out by Mall 205 now. So, yeah. And for some reason, I just want to say this, and I'm not sure why, but it's Pride Month, and I was with women for many years, and then I ended up with this guy for 25 years. But it's a funny place. I mean, first of all, heterosexual women marrying older guys, I did that one too. And I mean, I'm not heterosexual, but here we are. So there's something about that right now that's really up for me, because I'm, my community is unusual one, and people have been really supportive, and I've been isolating. So there we have it. It's the challenges of human life. I've started a practice. This is my walking meditation, where I'm just standing, balance on one foot, balance on the other with the breath. It's a good bedside meditation. But I thank everybody who's been holding me in their thoughts, and we'll see where things go. I don't see him getting out of this alive, but I've been wrong before with him, so we'll see.
Thank you, Leanne. I'm really glad to hear from you and have this update. Life is so messy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hi, Robert.
I hear a voice. It's
Joy.
Joy. Hi,
Hi.
Joy.
So, I've been admiring myself lately for how compassionate and wise I am, and what a benefit to all my relatives and friends. But it occurred to me, maybe I'm just turning. I grew up in a Mennonite community, and all of the women were incredibly saintly, and giving and thinking about others and being in the church and religious. And I was just wondering if I was just living out that template from my childhood. And then here in Victoria, people are tearing down statues. They're chopping their heads off and throwing them in the ocean, covering them with red paint. So there's a lot of rage. And I was wondering if actually that might be a better response to everything than this tranquil compliance.
Whose heads are getting cut off? What statues?
Captain Cook's head was chopped off, and Queen Victoria was covered with red paint. The colonialist oppressors. Well, there's a lot of rage here because of the hundreds of dead children's bodies found buried. Right. Yeah. Well, that's a major trigger is when you're murdering children. Anyway.
Right. And well, my training and experience, perhaps my brainwashing, from the Buddha, hatred is never healed through hatred. Only through love is hatred healed. Mm-hmm. So, and I would ask the question, what's beneath the rage? And I think there's a gaping despair. And if we dare, and I'm thinking of Joanna Macy, who's gone around the world for decades. And she's done what she calls despair and empowerment workshops. She went, she and her husband, whose name is escaping me right now, they were the first people to go to those villages around Chernobyl, where the people are still not allowed to go into the forest because the forest, the wood product, if you burn the wood, you release radiation. And they were the first persons to go in and get these people to talk about the incident. It was years, a decade or two after Chernobyl. And she had the brilliance and the tender depth to help them feel the rage, to feel something, which began as rage and then moved into tremendous despair. And then moved into loving empowerment to act. So, while I understand people acting in rage, I've done some of that in my life. I don't think it's karmically very helpful for oneself. Though I do hear you also being the good little Mennonite girl, Mennonite woman that you must never have a bad thought. I know that really well. And that leads to depression in my case.
It's very compliant. I'm annoyed with myself for maybe mistaking equanimity for mistaking compliance for and acquiescence for, tranquility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. How do you ever figure this out?
Experimentation. If there's rage in there, maybe beating on a mattress or a pillow and feeling the
Or-
rage and this might work or write.
Yeah, right.
And see what comes out if you start just writing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a great fan of mindful rage.
Right.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
When I've been with people who are opening up into their rage, and I've been there many times, I always do a little mini contract at the beginning, which is, okay, if you're willing, to the degree you're willing, let's take the lid off that. And let's have a couple of ground rules. You won't do anything that hurts yourself. You won't do anything that hurts me. And preferably, we won't break anything of value here in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ever so delicately and lovingly lift the lid off and see what's there. Because sometimes it's real in us.
Mm.
Now, there are those in the Buddhist world who would say that must never be done. That's true in the Thich Nhat Hanh world. Thich Nhat Hanh was opposed to any expression of rage, even done consciously like that.
Really?
Yeah. And I believe that, I can understand how he would have that belief coming from the childhood, the youth that he had in Vietnam.
Mm.
But if the task is to open to all of ourselves so that we don't have to be afraid of any part of ourselves and therefore to project it on someone else, another group, then it really behooves us to realize that there is in many or most of us, there's a word, the psychotherapy people have a word, it's the talionic rage. It's the rage of the 2-year-old who would kill you if they could. It's good they're small.
I've seen that rage.
Yeah.
It's very frightening, the 2-year-old rage.
Right. And we have that in us at 73, at whatever ages we are. That still exists.
6 churches have been burned down here.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, probably more will be. These things get copycat.
Well, the more properties that are investigated, the more residential schools that are investigated, the more bodies they'll find.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, thank you. So I appreciate your response as to think about a move towards real awareness.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons to be together. And where retreats and workshops are very helpful, where we can change the ground rules, where we can have an agreement in a community that you're despairing? How can we hold you in your despair so you can really feel it? Actually, I have had an experience This is very precious. When Ruth Dennison died, I was one of 3 people who took care of her the last 11 days of her life, when she was no longer taking water or food. She was quote unconscious. Though if we put beads in her hand, the beads would start moving. Anyway, she died, and it was a very powerful, potent experience. And then we planned a major memorial service a month later. And so I came home, and I had the last gathering of the teacher's training, the 3-year teacher training, during that interval. And the second to last morning, and I was a mess. I was much more deeply affected by her death than I had anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
And the second to last morning, I woke up and I had a vision, an impulse. And I asked my friends, who were the teachers at PIMC now, I asked them if they would be willing to carry my mattress down from my bedroom and put it in the living room floor. And then I knew who I wanted at my head and who I wanted at my feet. And other than that, I asked them if they would just place themselves around me. And there was some music. There's some beautiful Jennifer Barzon music that I like a lot, and I had used in this way for others. And I told them, I'd like to just let go if you would support me. And then their hands came and touched me, and all hell broke loose. There was blistering rage and despair, and went on a long time. And then there were tremendous oceans, buckets of tears. And then there was a quality of relief and love and openness. And I had been supported and held through quite a regression. And it was really transformative. So, and that was a very privileged position. You know, we'd been creating the intimacy of that group for years. But my wish is that we would all have groups, at least a person, who can say to us, I'm here, I'm strong enough, you can let go, I love you, I will not let you hurt yourself. And to some degree, we can provide that for ourselves. And that way we don't need to be the good little boy and girl that we've always been, because, there'd be no love. I mean, if I let that stuff out in childhood,
I know.
Right. Now you want something to cry about? You can have that.
Parents don't like that kind of emotional intensity.
No.
Well, some parents.
Yeah. Well, and why? Because they never had the support. They don't realize how important it is. Thank you for that very important sharing. And it is what a horrendous thing to be discovering in those residential schools.
Yes.
I mean, and my guess is it's the tip of the iceberg.
Oh God, what a thought. And the parents weren't notified. They didn't know what happened to their children.
Right.
So the story is pretty awful. Anyway, thank you, Robert. Thank you.
Just to put words to something. Around the United States, I think, well, anyway, there's a lot of states and municipalities that are passing laws that it's not okay to talk about slavery.
No
It's not
way.
okay to talk. It's not okay to talk about the shadow history of this country. And in fact, this country and Canada and all over the world actually started with genocide and proceeded to have slavery for hundreds of years, and then Jim Crow. And I mean, it really, the shadow is really real, and there's a tremendous resistance to its emerging.
Mm-hmm.
And people act out badly when it emerges too. Happy morning.
It is a good morning, and it's a nice day, and we'll go for a swim and enjoy the forest and so on. So, not to be too much of a downer. Thank you.
Where will you go? Oh, hang on, Robert. Just the Truth and Reconciliation report. Is that from Canada?
This is from Canada, yes. So it just shares this the information that we've known for years. It's just that the specifics are coming to light with the technology, and we know we know of at least 6,000 dead, mostly children, but the anticipation is that it could be double or many more. So this could be the rest of our lives. And we see that the same technology is coming out in the States, of course, with slavery, and these unmarked graves and these mass graves are being revealed. So I do find I just want to add in that even though these statues topple, it is an act of joy. There may be an act of healing, profound act of healing coming through this. And that not do something, to sit on the rage, is where disease and disaster and despair happen. But as people choose to come together and rewrite the story, there's also joy available. It is a statue. It doesn't have feelings. It's a statue that symbolically represents thoughts and feelings. And although that may ripple out, it can also call to attention the healing that's available for all of us when we reconcile our pasts with this present moment. Just a thought to share.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Statues don't have thoughts and feelings. That's a very wise statement.
Robert.
It's Tim.
Yeah, I think that point is extremely important. And it's one of the things that is spun in the news and used to subtly lie. There's a difference between violence and property destruction. There's a difference between destroying a statue and killing a person or hurting a person. A fundamental difference. And one of the ways that the media lies and misrepresents people who are involved in resistance is to blur that. We saw that here in Portland during the Black Lives Matter resistance period that was attempted, where lighting a garbage can on fire or spray painting was called violence over and over and over. It was called violence, and no line was drawn between spray painting or lighting a garbage can on fire and hurting a living being. That was consciously and repeatedly blurred as a spin and a lie, and I think it's something to be extremely careful of.
Thanks. I would like to play a song. See if I can find it and get it to work. I think it's a song by Michael Shohan and Brad Andrews, Dharma Friends. Michael. Aha, here it is. Now let me fix this. Turn this on. Music is on. Okay. Tim, will you tell me if this comes through?
Hasn't come through yet.
Okay, hang on just a second. I'm having a little internal debate. I don't know whether the censors would. I think I'm going to sign off on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to turn this off.